Greetings, hunters. So, I was gonna actually try and get this video out sooner, but then Rise came out, and I lost a week of my life. From Friday night at 1 a.m. to Sunday night at midnight, I ended up only sleeping about 8 hours, which means all the rest of that time was spent playing Monster Hunter Rise. I took a picture of my playtime that Monday morning, and, well, yeah. Oh my god, what am I doing with my life? All I do is play Monster Hunter. But that's okay. To be honest, I'm kind of glad it got in the way of everything, because it gave me a chance to play and realize that Rise actually has a lot of examples to serve the point of the things I'm going to be talking about today. Rise is a wonderful example of how Monster Hunter's gameplay has evolved over the generations. And to help illustrate this, we're going to look at Rathian and Rathalos through Monster Hunter history, including their appearance in Rise, to see how they've evolved and helped show what good and bad encounter design looks like. I'm the Foxy Huntress, and welcome to the Research Commission. Report number 1. Evolution of Encounter Design. Obviously, since I'll be going through parts of all of Monster Hunter's history, possible spoilers for literally anything in the Monster Hunter series. As far as Rise goes, I won't be spoiling anything other than the Rathian and Rathalos hunts, so you're safe as far as everything else goes. I'll even make my character naked so you don't see any potential gear spoilers. And maybe for other reasons too. Gosh, she's so hot. Anyway, sorry, moving on. Encounter design is something any good video game needs in order to leave a strong, lasting impression. If you've ever thought to yourself, oh man, that boss was so cool, it did this and that, and then when it did this, it was like, blah, then you know what I'm talking about. It's a pivotal moment in the gameplay experience where all the best parts are working together to take you for a freaking ride. But, like any good ride, it needs some rails to keep the player on the track and having a good time. Help the player focus on the fun and nothing else. If the rails aren't there, or give out, or one part is just old and rusty and really needs fixing, but that part is crucial to holding it all together, then everything falls apart and you die. Both in game and whatever ride I'm talking about in this really crappy metaphor. There are several key points that all encounter design should have in order to ensure the player is having a good time via gameplay. These include, but are not limited to, perfectly balanced difficulty, fair expectations on the player, behavior from the game's mechanics, clear solutions to presented obstacles, and essentially a ton of artistic and aesthetic choices that I'll categorize simply as characterization. When games do this well, you know it immediately. It's that smile on your face when you just beat a challenging boss. It's the game you replay over and over because just feeling its mechanics keeps you hungry for more. Or it's the thoughts that haunt you every minute you're not playing the game because goddamn it's so good but this video needs to get done. Oh, sorry. Monster Hunter has traditionally done this very well. Kind of. If you go as far back as, say, Freedom Unite, appropriately abbreviated FU, then you'll realize that a lot of the monsters are pretty hit or miss. Flying Wyverns in particular have some overlapping issues that they all share in the classic games, which makes them particularly frustrating to fight in Freedom Unite. Yon Kutku, some parts of Khezu, and of course Rathian and Rathalos all share these problems. And to explain what I mean, we're going to look at Rathian and Rathalos specifically. Rathian in Freedom Unite has a number of attacks that come out of her idle position, meaning that while she's stationary or turning towards the player, she can follow up with any number of attacks. These include running forward and then sliding onto her face. Are you okay, girl? Shooting out 1 or 3 fireballs in a pattern. Whipping her tail in a 180 motion, either left or right, twice, resulting in a full 360 spin. Immediately taking off and stunning you with wind pressure. A flying attack where she leaps forward or backward and lands away from you, also creating lots of wind pressure. Or reeling back into a tail flip, her signature move. All of these on their own would be fine. In fact, it's a pretty diverse pool of moves to keep you on your toes. Except, some of them have a very big problem. That being that they have zero telegraphing. There is no visual indication either from the user interface or a distinct part of the monster's animation to tell the player, hey you, a thing is happening, might want to react to the thing. So when you go in to attack Rathian, just after she's done a tail flip and she starts to turn towards you, you have no solid idea of what attack she may or may not do, and if it may or may not be instant. And I may or may not hate that. No, I definitely hate that. To illustrate why I hate this, I'm going to show you this diagram of where all of the hitboxes are for attacks that have no telegraphs. Perhaps you've noticed this, but the safe place to stand is fucking nowhere. This breaks 3 of our rules for good encounter design. This isn't a fair expectation on the player because it asks them to know what she's going to do before she does it. This isn't fair behavior of the game's mechanics because so many other moves are very well telegraphed. This makes these moves stand out and feel inconsistent. And there isn't an entirely clear solution to dealing with this other than to assume that she will always do it, even if she doesn't. Just as a small note, I did find a video while editing this that says that the speed of the Rathian's turn can indicate if she's going to charge or not. While this can act as a telegraph, to most players it's vague at best and would definitely feel unfair and something way too subtle to notice. And even if they do notice, going in to punish her after a missed attack almost gives you no time to see that she's turning faster and move before you're blasted instantly anyway. So while it is possible she will do any of her other attacks, the ones that are well telegraphed, because you can't predict, you often will get into the habit of dodging and backing away to avoid an attack that isn't actually going to happen, which ultimately gets you out of position or eats up time you could have been attacking for an attack that she did telegraph and was punishable. So even though she has telegraphed attacks, they are all made moot by the ones that aren't because you are playing around them no matter what she's doing. Forcing the player to be a scared little chicken is bad encounter design. No 2 moves should be so overwhelming to deal with that they dictate everything you do in a boss fight even when they aren't being used. Because then this ultimately makes every weapon a hit-and-run weapon without the benefit of being a greatsword. Rathalos is similar as well. He has the charging move and tail swipes like Rathian, but does change up his moves somewhat. He's more air-focused and takes a lot of what Rathian does and performs aerial versions of them. He also has this 50-second flying move that does nothing but waste your time. He circles around the arena for a while, then swoops down from the sky to try and attack you, then takes another while to get back and eventually land. I know what they were trying to go for here. They want to show off his ability to fly and strike at a moment's notice. Wants to create a sense of fear and slight powerlessness in the player as he does whatever he's gonna do. But that just doesn't land. Or, well, it does, but you know what I mean. Let's move on. As I was going through my playthrough of all the older generations, though, it seemed to become very clear to me that somewhere around Freedom and Freedom Unite, the team was starting to realize that telegraphing is really important to how the players are able to approach a fight. They also want to make sure every monster, even if they reuse some attack animations, feels unique from each other, and having good telegraphing with a variety of specific attacks helps it feel different to the player. And so from here on in the Monster Hunter series, every new monster that's added is designed with this in mind, while monsters that were already designed still kept some of their untelegraphed moves and a shared move pool. Rathian and Rathalos in 3 Ultimate and 4 Ultimate are updated, but largely the same between these 2 generations. Both Rathian and Rathalos got a visual design rework in Generation 3 that was honestly really needed. They both also got some new attacks, some of which were shared between the 2 and some that were signature unique to the monster, all of which were telegraphed very well. And to the player, they both definitely feel much better to fight, but it's the non-telegraphed attacks that still just dominate a lot of what the player is going to choose to do. Also, Rathalos still flies around annoyingly too. Honestly, thinking about it, I bet this was killer for speedruns back in the day. God, what a nightmare. But then, suddenly, just over the horizon, Monster Hunter World. New models, new animation rigging, and new graphics. This was the perfect opportunity for the team to revisit old monsters and bring them up to the standards they had been building over generations for the series. Rathian now had excellent telegraphing, smooth animation transitions, and even audio cues for you to know, oh love, she coming. Even in Rise, they have your hunter. They use the hunter's voice to. They have the hunters yell when. Oh, screw this. I'm turning this off. There's this really natural way she has some subtle startup frames to her charge. It gives just enough time for you to know what she's going to do, and the seamless weaving from one charge to the next with animation blending adds to this too. You know she's going to keep charging if she looks backward and comes at you again, and you know she'll stop charging when she does the lunging bite at the end. Which, when you pay attention to this, lets you know that sometimes she'll charge 3 times and sometimes just once, and that after the charges is when you can go in to punish her. Rathalos too got the same treatment to his attacks and animations exclusive to him. They did feel like they had to trim away some of what made him unique from the past games, but he still feels so much better to fight and still fearsome for less experienced hunters. While Rathalos in World does have less characterization, I ultimately prefer that to more characterization but with bad gameplay experience. And he doesn't do the flying crap anymore, yes! All of these things may seem overly simple, but they do go a long way in helping the player learn what they can and can't do, when they can and can't do it. It helps the player feel in control, or at least toe-to-toe with the fight, and encourages them to explore new ways to take advantage of those now clear patterns and windows. It's these same principles that make competitive games like Smash so addicting for those who play it. Knowing the startup and recovery frames, the tells that a character has, is all part of the complex web of meaningful choices you have to make to get good. And this is where I would have ended up stopping the video before. I was just going to use Rise as kind of a small example to show, hey, they're still tweaking these small things that I just talked about, and that's great. But then Rise came out, and I got to Rathalos. Guys, did you see what they did to Rathalos? This is what fighting Rathalos was always meant to be. Seriously, I can't get over how perfectly designed this fight is from the ground up. Every attack is cleanly telegraphed but comes out swift enough to test your reaction time. It makes you consider every choice when you attack. If you misjudge the window of an opening, you could get punished. You can see it coming the whole time, showing you that you messed up, not that he attacked you without warning. Oh, look, they even brought his flying around the arena back, but here it actually works! All his new attacks, the tweaks to his existing attacks, and the pacing of his AI are just so on point. Rathalos feels so good to fight, and he feels so distinct now in character. And what's better, all the returning monsters from other games like Zinogre, Nargacuga, and Diablos got the same treatment too. And that's just to name a few. Monsters that were in World exclusively that I dreaded fighting because they felt so milquetoast are now some of my favorite fights in all of Rise. Anjanath, Puke, Tobi-Kadachi, Kuluyaku, even Jira! I actually like Jiratotus in Rise, guys. You're gonna get your own video one day, buddy, I promise. Just you wait. This Rathalos to me is the clearest implementation of what I think the Monster Hunter team has been going for all these generations. When all the aspects of good encounter design are banging at 100%, and your mechanics are incredibly tight and fair and consistent for the player, that's when you can really start messing around and having fun with your encounter design, and getting super creative. And if Monster Hunter Rise serves as any indication of where the team is going in their direction, taking everything that they've learned from World and prior, then I honestly think we're about to enter a golden age of Monster Hunter, and I honestly cannot wait. And the best part is that because of World's success, we've got so many people now in our community, meaning that as we enter this golden age, we get to bring so many new and existing hunters with us. That's exciting. Congrats, Capcom. I think you blew it out of the solar system with this one. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up to let me know I did good, or if you thought I could be better, then give me a thumbs down so I can try better for next time. If you want to see more analysis videos like this on Monster Hunter, then be sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below. Stay safe out there, hunters, and have fun.